Welcome to Media Corner. My name is Aiden, and today I'm doing a fun and informative tutorial on grids. Let's get into it. So here are a couple of the new grids that are in the ScreenScape asset library. Let's log into ScreenScape.com to start playing around with some of these new grids. Alright, so I want to create a blank canvas, so to do that I'm going to click on the plus button right here and select blank canvas, and I want to open up one of the grids so we can start creating a template using a grid. So let's go to the plus button right here, go to add image, click on the plus button again. This brings up the ScreenScape asset library. Click on design tools right here and grids, and we can just click on this icon right up here to make viewing them easier. I'm going to select one of the column grids. I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. There's a few of them, there's 4 of them in total, so we're going to use the 4 column grid. This is a popular grid style that's used a lot in magazines and newspapers. Really handy for digital signage as well. Okay, true to its form, as you can see there's 4 columns. I added some triangles on the corners of each of these grids, which makes it really easy for centering them. Some tips right out of the gate would be to lock the grids. That way they stay in place. Another smart kind of hack would be to turn down the opacity. So click on this drop down arrow here, go to add style, opacity, and just turn that down so we can see our images and text better. So a good example of using a column grid would be creating something like a pricing table. So 4 different prices, 4 different items, could be used for retail, food service, those kinds of things. And of course, if you have a 5 column grid, it could be 5 items. If you have a 3 column grid, it could be 3 items. Just an easy way to make sure everything is aligned perfectly and properly. It eliminates the guesswork and just makes your job a lot easier. Alright, it's time to move on to the next grid. So let's go back to the asset library and bring in a grid that's called Modular Grid. It's a popular grid that's used in app design and web design a lot. It's also really useful for digital signage as it's really flexible. It's a great tool to make sure things are aligned. So let's stretch this out so it's centered. You're probably looking at this grid and saying, what is this? I've never seen anything like this before. How is this going to work for me? Let's bring in some images and some text, and I will show you just how awesome this modular grid is. So I have a photo here. I will just use the handles in the corners to drag it out and position it somewhere within the grid area, obviously. Now I can add some text. I'm just going to make a simple ad as an example. So make sure your text is lined up with the lines. So the bottom of your text is lined up right on these lines, like so. So I want to make this perfectly symmetrical. So I'll just drag this photo over right here, and I'll move my text over to the right inside this area of the grid here. And voila! Perfectly symmetrical ad. Looks awesome. So I'll just turn off the grid here, and the average viewer is going to say, I love the look of that. Why does it look so good? We know why it looks good. We used a grid. So each of these grids has a halfway mark built into them. So if you want to separate things in half, we made it really easy for you. Boom. Alright, I gave you the rundown on column grids and modular grids. So let's move on to the next one, which is called a pixel grid. So I'll just load that one up right now. So this is probably one of the most common grids. You've seen this before, definitely, whether it was in grid paper or on popular design applications. So it's obviously quite easy to work with, as there is a lot of horizontal and diagonal lines. It can be difficult to make sure things are centered because there are so many cells to count, if that makes any sense. Once again, always a great idea to make sure your grid is behind your image and it is locked, like so. But it's a good grid if you want to make sure your text is lined up horizontally, or if you have icons or other multiple images, it can be quite handy. Also, like I said before, you are totally welcome to use a couple grids at the same time to make your life easier. Alright, last but not least, I'll go over the rule of thirds grid. So the rule of thirds is a popular technique used by painters, designers, and photographers. It's an easy way to create visual appealing images that are pleasing to the human eye. I often use it in digital signage because it's an easy way to separate content. So the image could take up 2/3 and the text could be 1/3, or the text could be 2/3 and the image could be 1/3. I'm just gonna bring in an easier image to work with here, and I will just resize it, and I can move that underneath the grid there. And so keeping our subject in this area here creates a lot of visual interest. We can make our text the forefront here. So the thirds grid is a really great layout tool, essentially, for digital signage. As you can see, the text is really coming into the forefront here, and the image is there to support it. It's not taking away from the text, and it's a simple message, which is what we want. Alright, I'll try the opposite here by making the image more of the centerpiece, by bringing in an image from the ScreenScape asset library. So there's lots of photography here that's free to use for our users. Really excellent library of images, actually. So I'll bring in one of these and I'll show you how it would look. So I'll just drag this out, and it's taking over 2/3 now of the digital poster. Let me just drag my text over, and I can change the wording up a little bit to suit the context of the image. And look at that, super easy to create a great looking piece of content. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you have any questions regarding grids or templates or layouts, my name is Aiden. You can message me anytime you want at mediacorner@screenscape.com. Have a great day. Bye.